I swear to God, if you asked me to describe my marriage to Claire before all this, I wouldn't even know where to start. Not because it was some epic love story, because it wasn't. We weren't tragic, we weren't a rom-com, we were just there. Like a couch you don't hate enough to replace. Comfortable enough to sit on, but not comfortable enough to fall asleep. You know what I mean? 6 years. 6 fucking years. And I thought we were fine. Or maybe I didn't think about it at all, which is probably closer to the truth. But when Dad got sick, comfortable turned into something else. Like, there's comfortable silence, the kind where nobody needs to fill it, and then there's that silence that feels like something's rotting underneath it. That's what we had by the end. Dad was a stubborn bastard. Old school in every way that made you want to slam your head into a wall. Grew up poor, built everything with his own hands, wouldn't let a nurse so much as hand him a glass of water because, in his mind, if you weren't suffering, you weren't living right. I got the call that he was getting worse, and just like that, my life flipped. I didn't even hesitate. Work, house, everything else. It all shrunk down to this one fucked up mission: keep him breathing. Claire tried to hang in there for a bit, I'll give her that. First couple weeks, she'd bring me coffee, sit on the couch scrolling her phone, asking how he was doing without really listening to the answer. But once the house started smelling like antiseptic and old sweat, once dinners turned into me grabbing whatever was left in the fridge at 2 a.m., she started fading out. The thing is, I didn't have time to care. Not about her, not about us, not about anything that didn't involve pills, doctor visits, or watching a man who used to terrify me get too weak to lift a goddamn spoon. I remember this one night, and I don't know why this sticks with me, but I was standing in the kitchen, trying to remember if I gave him his meds or if that was yesterday, and Claire walked in. She had her keys in her hand, that little click 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 of them hitting each other, and she said, "I'm gonna stay at my sister's for a few days." I said, "Okay," without even turning around. And that was it. I didn't ask when she'd be back. Didn't even check my phone for texts. Just added her to the long-ass list of things I couldn't deal with right then. Dad died 2 weeks later. Peaceful, they said. I hate that word. There was nothing peaceful about the way his body gave up. Nothing peaceful about the way I sat there, smelling stale sweat and the cheap candle I lit to cover it up, listening to his breath turn into a fucking rattle. When it stopped, I just sat there. No tears, no big movie moment. Just silence, and the kind of exhaustion that makes your bones hurt. Claire came back right after the funeral. I say, came back, but she didn't even step inside. Just left a note on the counter, like I was some shitty Airbnb host, and she was rating her stay. I can't do this anymore. I need to live. That was it. No. Sorry. No. Let's talk. No, nothing. Just a post-it-sized goodbye from someone who swore they loved me. And the crazy part? I didn't even get mad. I was too fucking numb to care. I remember reading it, then folding it into a perfect square, setting it down next to the coffee pot, and walking back upstairs to sort through Dad's socks and shirts for Goodwill. Grief does weird shit to your brain. It's like all your feelings get unplugged at once, and you're just there. Existing. I didn't think about Claire much after that. Or at least, not in any way that mattered. The house got quieter. I got used to eating alone, sleeping alone, doing everything alone. Honestly, I think I liked it better that way. No performance. No pretending to be fine when I wasn't. Then the lawyer called. You ever hear something so absurd your brain rejects it? That was me, sitting in some stiff leather chair across from this guy in a suit that cost more than my car, while he explained that my dad, my cranky, cheap ass, we can't afford name brand cereal. Dad was secretly loaded. Not rich. Loaded. Properties, investments, accounts in banks I didn't even know existed. Apparently, The old man played the long game, worked his ass off, hid every dime, and left it all to me. No speeches, no letters, just a folder and a number so big I had to read it twice. The news spread faster than I thought possible. Money's got its own gravity, pulls people right out of the woodwork. Old friends. Cousins I haven't seen since puberty. And Claire. She showed up 3 weeks after the will reading. Same smile, slightly bigger boobs. That's how I knew things were going well for her. She did the whole, "I made a mistake, I was scared, I miss you" thing. Even cried, or at least, her makeup smeared, so I assumed tears were involved. I let her talk. I let her hug me, kiss my cheek, spin some Hallmark bullshit about finding our way back to each other. And I just stood there, letting it all wash over me like bad weather, because there was this small, dark part of me that wanted to see how far she'd take it. Spoiler, pretty fucking far. But the whole time, all I could think about was the note. That stupid, cowardly note. I can't do this anymore. I need to live. And I realized she didn't leave because life got hard. She left because she thought I was going down with the ship. And if there's one thing Claire's always been good at, it's knowing when to jump. I didn't call her out right away. That would have been too easy. No, I let her settle back in. Let her think she was working her magic, weaseling her way back into our life, acting like she gave a shit about my dead father when I knew for a fact she didn't even remember his middle name. I waited until she was comfortable. Then I handed her the papers. Signed. Sealed. Delivered. "You didn't leave because it was hard," I told her. "You left because you thought I was gonna be broke, and you didn't want to waste your prime years on a loser." She tried to laugh. Tried to flip her hair, flirt, charm her way out. But I wasn't that guy anymore. Money didn't change me, grief did. And when she realized that, when she saw that door closing in real time, her face did this thing, this flicker between rage and panic, and I swear, that moment was better than any revenge fantasy I ever had. All she got was exactly what she brought in, nothing. And for the first time in months, I actually felt alive. You ever notice how quiet a house gets when the wrong person leaves? It's not peaceful. It's like someone turned off a machine you didn't even realize was buzzing in the background. And now all you can hear is your own fucking heartbeat. That's what it was like after Claire. No more perfume ghosting around the bathroom. No more half-empty wine glasses in the sink. No more passive-aggressive sighs from the other room. Just me, my dad's old recliner, and a fridge full of shit I didn't remember buying. And money. A stupid amount of money. The kind of money that could solve problems I didn't even have yet. You'd think that would feel good, like I beat the system or something. But it didn't. It felt like standing in a room too big for me, like I was a squatter in someone else's life. My dad's life. See, the money didn't come with instructions. No final letter, no, "I'm proud of you, son." No clue why the hell he spent his life acting broke while sitting on a fortune. Just accounts and assets and properties with my name on them now. Like, "Congrats, you win the trauma lottery." So what do you do when you've got more money than sense and absolutely no one to share it with? You sit in your car at 2 a.m., eating gas station sandwiches, scrolling through your contacts, and realizing you don't actually like anyone. Not enough to call. Not enough to explain. It's not that I didn't have people. I had people. Work friends. Neighbors who waved too much. My cousin Dylan who only calls when he's in some kind of legal or spiritual crisis. But when you get handed that much money, everyone turns into a potential problem. Are they calling because they care, or because they heard? Are they suddenly remembering my birthday because they miss me, or because they saw the house upgrade on Instagram? You start playing detective with every text, and it's exhausting. The house was too quiet. I bought a new couch. thinking maybe it was the old one making me feel like shit. It wasn't. I tried blasting music, drinking alone, even called up an ex just to see if hate sex still worked. Spoiler, it didn't. She left her earrings on my nightstand and asked me if I wanted to invest in her business idea before she even put her bra back on. That's the thing about money. It turns every interaction into a fucking transaction. Even people who used to know you start looking at you like you're a walking ATM. It's like I became rich, but I lost my face. Nobody saw me anymore, just the balance. And Claire? Oh, Claire didn't go quietly. She tried everything, texts, emails, long-winded voice notes where she took accountability, but also somehow made herself the victim. She even wrote me a letter, like we were in a goddamn Nicholas Sparks movie. Said she was overwhelmed by grief and scared of losing herself in my sadness. Like my dad dying was some inconvenient weather pattern she got caught in without an umbrella. I didn't respond to any of it. Not because I'm some badass with nerves of steel, but because I knew if I gave her even 1 inch, she'd find a way back in. That's Claire's gift, survival. She could charm her way out of a hostage situation and have the kidnapper apologizing to her by the end. The kicker? She showed up. In person. Right to my door with her. I just want to talk. Face and a bottle of wine I'm 100% sure she expends to some guy she was fucking during our separation. I let her in. Not because I forgave her, because I was curious. I wanted to see her squirm. She did her whole routine, the teary eyes, the trembling lip, the "I've been doing a lot of thinking" monologue. She even tried to sit in my lap at one point, like we were gonna rewrite history right there on my new overpriced couch. I let her talk herself in circles for almost an hour. Just sat there, nodding, pretending to consider the us. She was trying to sell me like a timeshare in hell. And then I asked her one question. What was Dad's middle name? She blinked. Twice. Smiled like I was joking. And when she realized I wasn't, her face did this thing, that flicker between fake confidence and actual panic. She guessed wrong, of course. Called him James. It was Harold. That's when I knew she wasn't here for me. Not for grief, not for love, not for anything real. Just for the payout. The storybook ending where the prodigal wife returns, and we cry and reconcile, and live happily ever after, on my dime. So I stood up, handed her a folder and said, All you're getting is what you brought in. Her face cracked open, and for a second, just a second, I saw the real Claire under all that fake concern and shiny lip gloss. The one who measures people by their usefulness. The one who was already calculating how to spin this to her friends. She stormed out, called me a heartless prick, which fair. I probably am. But at least I'm not a liar. And just like that, the house was quiet again. You'd think it'd feel like a win, right? Like I finally closed the book on that chapter and got my clean slate. But all I felt was tired. Not sad, not angry, just this bone-deep exhaustion, like my body finally caught up to everything I'd been pretending didn't hurt. I sat in Dad's recliner after she left. No lights, no TV, just me and the silence. And I thought about him, about all those years he spent building something in secret, all that money he never touched. What was it all for? Security? Power? Did he think it would make me happy, or was it just a habit he couldn't break? I'll never know. Because the one thing he didn't leave me was a reason. And that's the fucked up thing about inheritance. You get all their stuff, but none of their answers. You want to know the truth? There's no real ending to a story like this. There's no moment where you stand in the mirror, slap your cheeks, and suddenly you're reborn or some shit. It's not a movie. You don't level up just because you survived the boss fight. After Claire left, for real this time, I thought it'd feel like some kind of victory lap. Like I finally said all the things I swallowed down for 6 years. But the house didn't feel cleaner. My bed didn't feel bigger. Food didn't taste better. If anything, it felt like I'd just taken out the trash and realized the smell was still there. Turns out, it wasn't Claire. It was me. See, when you spend years orbiting around someone else, their moods, their wants, their fragile fucking ego, you lose track of what your own life was supposed to feel like. And when they're gone, you don't get your old life back. You just get this blank space where your personality used to be, and you're left standing there like an asshole, trying to figure out if you ever actually had one. I had money. More than I could ever spend. And I did try. Bought a car I didn't need, flew first class to nowhere in particular, ate at restaurants where the waiters judge you for ordering the wrong kind of water. I even bought a watch, which was hilarious, since I hadn't cared about the time in months. It was all noise. Expensive noise, but noise. None of it made me feel any more like a person. It just made me harder to relate to. And people noticed. Old coworkers got weird. Conversations started feeling like business meetings, all polite small talk until they worked up to whatever favor they wanted. Hey man, crazy how life works out, huh? Anyway, I'm actually starting this thing, and could really use an investor. Relatives I hadn't seen since I was a teenager popped up with, remember when, stories that always ended with them needing a little help. I swear my Aunt Teresa invented a kidney disease just to see if I'd write a check. At first, I played along. He'll do that to you. Like I didn't earn this money, so maybe I owed them something. But every time I helped someone, it felt less like generosity and more like paying them to go away. And they always came back. The only person who didn't ask for shit was the one person I actually missed, my dad. The guy who left me all this, and not a single fucking clue what to do with it. I kept waiting for some kind of posthumous wisdom to kick in. Like maybe grief worked on a delay, and eventually I'd understand why he did it the way he did. That never happened. What did happen was a Tuesday afternoon, 3 months after Claire walked out for the second and last time. I was sitting in the driveway, car running, too tired to even get out, when my phone lit up with a reminder, estate meeting, final asset transfer. And I just sat there, staring at the screen, realizing the whole goddamn circus was almost over. Everything was officially mine. Papers signed, assets transferred, responsibilities locked in. My name, stamped on every piece of property my dad had hoarded like some Depression-era dragon. It should have felt like closure. It felt like a trap. Because now, it was just me. No Claire to blame. No dad to take care of. No excuses. Just me, a pile of money, and the rest of my life, which was looking like a long-ass hallway with no doors. That night, I took a drive. No destination, just moving. Ended up back at the old house, the one I grew up in, the one Dad refused to sell no matter how many cash offers came in from developers. It was smaller than I remembered. The kind of house you drive past without noticing, just another aging box on a street full of aging boxes. The grass was dead. The mailbox was crooked. But it was still standing. Like Dad. I sat on the front steps for an hour, just me and the night air. No big revelations. No ghosts whispering life lessons. Just the creak of the wood under my ass, and the distant hum of someone's shitty lawnmower still running after dark. Real life. The kind that doesn't give a shit how much money you have.